presenting this afternoon with my colleagues, Dr. Cindy Hale and Dr. Joshua Smith. And we are looking at the Higher Learning Commission and dividing our presentation into three parts. I will cover the overview of the Higher Learning Commission, what it is, and the accreditation process, and then they will provide the more specifics with regard to what Missouri State's doing and our opportunities and challenges within this framework. So I think that you'll find their presentation very interesting because it will apply to what we are about right now. All right, we'll go to the next slide, which is, what is the Higher Learning Commission? The Higher Learning Commission oversees accreditation of degree-granting colleges and institutions in 19 states, and it's recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. So that's really critical because we do have a symbiotic relationship, the Higher Learning Commission with the U.S. Department of Education. They authorize the Higher Learning Commission to accredit institutions in 19 states, and consequently, institutions get to apply for and participate in the federal financial aid program. And so that's one of the reasons why so many institutions, why it's critical, and why so many institutions want to be accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. This next slide is really a timeline slide, and I know that's very difficult to see. Dr. Tammy Yankee created these for us, and we really appreciate her effort. She is the chair of the HLC Steering Committee here at Missouri State, and so these are official timelines that committee has come up with. You will see that the timeline begins in November of 2005, and that was our last comprehensive visit for reaffirmation of accreditation at Missouri State University. There are other times on there that are particularly significant, and I will call attention to 2007 and 2012, where we got approval from the Higher Learning Commission for the Doctorate of Physical Therapy and the Doctorate of Nursing Practice. We are an affiliated institution with the Higher Learning Commission, and if you will go to their website, you will see Missouri State listed. It will give institutions, and you can click on that, and you can then type in Missouri State and the state of Missouri, and it will bring up our affiliated status. We are affiliated with them to offer bachelor's and master's degrees, any that we want without prior commission approval. But one of our stipulations is that in order to offer a doctorate, we must have prior commission approval. So that's what's significant about those two dates, is that those were times when teams visited campus working with those colleges and departments that were offering those programs and received approval for them. On the next slide, we look at a typical accreditation cycle. So you will see that this slide ends in fall of 2015 with the comprehensive evaluation and site visit for our next reaffirmation of accreditation. And this is the work that we are about from now until then, kind of in a snapshot. So in September of 2012, the Higher Learning Commission started transitioning to a new accreditation process called Pathways. And there are two pathways. There's the standard pathway and the open pathway. And in April, Missouri State received an invitation from the Higher Learning Commission to join the open pathway process. And that was really quite a feather in our cap, I feel, because it demonstrated that they feel like we are a mature institution. We are self-regulating, self-governing. They don't see any problems on the horizon for Missouri State. And so they're opening this new pathway, the open pathway to us, where we do a quality initiative within our accreditation cycle. So not only do they look at us for assurance of quality, but they also look at us for being able to have a project and show progress in that way. Then we look at the fact that from 13 until 15, we began the real preparation for their comprehensive visit in fall of 2015. And We have an HLC steering committee with goals, and we have goals this year, and then we have goals next year. And the goals this year really have to do with looking at our 2005 report and seeing if there were any concerns that were expressed and how we're addressing those and how we might want to continue to address those until the next visit. We will be looking at assumed practices. And assumed practices are those things that all good institutions do. You know, it's just one of those things. It's almost a checklist sort of thing. And you know, then that committee has already developed the documentation for our assumed practices. Then we are collecting evidence that we meet our criteria and core components. And you will see at the next year, then we're going to gather more documents. We're going to write the draft outline. You know, for the assurance section, and then have the assurance report completed and submitted to the Higher Learning Commission. And this will be a continued conversation as that committee collects documents, reviews documents. There will be conversations with colleges and departments to make sure that we're reflecting, you know, what's going on accurately. Okay, the next slide. This just goes into a little bit more detail into the open pathway timeline. We are working on the quality initiative project over the next 3 years, to 2012 to 2015. We're down to 2 years now, and Dr. Hale will provide more detail about what that project entails. And then we have the assurance filing, which includes the federal compliance requirement as well as the assurance review. And the Higher Learning Commission is limiting the number of words that can be submitted for that. In the past, there was no limit to it. Institutions put together volumes of materials for teams to review before they came to campus. And they're just saying, you know, that just gets a little bit out of hand. So now they want the report to be very succinct. There can be embedded documents in this, links to different documents so that you can have appendices and that sort of thing, but they want the report to be succinct. All right, and the next slide. This goes into what would be a typical 10-year cycle. So here we're starting over again. We've gone through the accreditation review, the reaffirmation in 2015, and then in 2016 we contribute documents to the evidence file. Each year we provide documentation in terms of our financial indicators. They look at that. They also look at non-financial indicators. If there are any problems on the horizon for an institution, they would get in touch with that institution and say, hey, you know, it looks like enrollments are down a little bit. What are you doing about it? So part of their role is to help institutions meet the needs of the future and be successful. Then once again, we have our next quality initiative proposal in 2012. We submit that for their review and approval. We continue to work on that and do our assurance filings for our next visit. So it all sounds very simple, doesn't it? We know it doesn't always work that way. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this, but I'm very proud of the work that's already being done at Missouri State, and I'm going to turn it over to Cindy Hale and let her talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Joy, and thank you for coming to our session. We always are glad to see people participate in special events like this. I am going to talk a little bit about the Quality Initiative Project. Let me start first with last year. Once we were identified as being able to do the open pathway for accreditation again, we started having conversations across campus. What would our quality initiative project be? And there were many things that we talked about. We talked about the new Gen Ed revision. We talked about public affairs. We talked about several other diversity as an issue to create a project for. One of the guiding factors for us was in the 2005 HLC review. We received an AFI for our public affairs. We had not told our story strong enough about how we were incorporating public affairs in our programs, and then specifically, how were we assessing that? How were we determining that our students were engaged in public affairs activities, that they were growing in their understanding and their application of the values, the goals that we had set. So we decided on the QIP for related to public affairs. A small group of faculty from every college were invited to participate in a planning group for this last summer, in summer 2012. We met two or three times a week for a good 6-7 weeks, and we hammered out a project. We looked at a variety of projects that were being done by other institutions. We thought of new things that would be more applicable to our institution. What we were trying to identify was a way that we could capture and better tell our story about what was being done related to public affairs and how we could assess that. And we came up with our QIP project for our open pathways. So June and July, we worked on this process. In July, we had to submit a proposal, and this proposal was submitted to HLC, and by peer review, we had 2 reviewers from the HLC, people that actually come for visits, reviewed our project. It was a very detailed description proposal of our project. We received that back and it was approved. It's very exciting. They saw that it was a energetic project. It involved the whole campus community. So they were very pleased and gave us the full support to go ahead with this project. No, we can go ahead, yeah. So what we did over then the course of the summer, and then we were able to post, is the quality assurance project for HLC, what we've decided to do. Now, I'm sure that most of you are familiar with what we came up with, but I wanted to mention specifically that, let's go ahead and go ahead. This is a comprehensive university-wide plan. We are involving faculty, staff, co-curricular activities, things that the students are doing on the university. This is not just grounded in curriculum, but in curricular and co-curricular activities. So that is very important for us to keep remembering. These activities, we developed a set of student learner outcomes that were related to public affairs that are available for faculty to actually include in their courses, in their project work, things that they're already doing, or they could refine a little bit. Things that in student government or activities that could be refined a little bit, or that the public affairs piece of it made more public. And so we're using those, we developed these lists of student learner outcomes for each one of the pillars in public affairs. Remember, those are community engagement, ethical leadership, and cultural competence. I just should have had those flying off my lips by now. So this provides us with evidence on all 3 pillars and across all aspects of the university. Faculty have the opportunity then to submit a project, and that project then will be evaluated, but not on the merit of the project. We're trying to capture what students are learning and knowing and growing in their awareness of and application of our public affairs goals. So it seemed like an excellent way for us to tell our story. We did not do that successfully the time before, so that's what we're very excited about. So this will provide us evidence, and we'll be able to collect many, many different examples of public affairs initiative to satisfy our HLC expectations. You will notice that we're going we're right at this piece right now, where faculty are being invited to participate, and then our first evaluation will be in this fall. Over the course of this summer, we'll be looking at these. Okay. Briefly, our QIP goals. We are first, let me just switch here a little bit. First, our QIP project will allow Missouri State a way to capture curricular and co-curricular contributions or connections to public affairs. It's going to be the first time ever we're going to make connections between what our students are learning in the classroom, what they're doing in the community, and what they're doing in their everyday life, in the dorms, or in their sports, or other co-curricular activities. Second, this gives us evidence to tell the real story. One of the things that we found when we've talked to faculty and programs the last 5 years, we would say, how are you addressing public affairs in your classes? And we would get these wonderful examples, but they were all just examples. We did not have data across programs and across the university to actually tell that story. The QIP will allow us to have that kind of data to share. So we're very, very excited about that. And then the third goal is the ongoing picture of public affairs, integration in our programs and co-curricular activities, and how we'll be able to sustain that progress over the course of time. So you saw that we'll begin collecting data this spring. This last fall, we had a few volunteers participate in the process as a pilot. We'll have more data this spring, and then every year we're going to be able to share more and more of our story with our constituents, with ourselves, with HLC regarding the public affairs mission at Missouri State. Josh?
So I'm going to talk about the logistics of the QIP. How do you get involved? What is the benefit for you? I have if you can hand that out, there's a timeline that's a little updated from what's on the web of the process for the QIP. We'll hand that out. It also has Carrie's information to contact if you have questions. The benefits as faculty is to get a general picture of Missouri State University students, integration of public affairs, and into this QIP we also wove in diversity to it also, because that was one of our things that they said we weren't telling our story as well either. And so I'll take you through the process of how you can get involved in just a minute. But also it gives us the ability to have customized reports, and this is one of the things that I was interested in being the CGIP chair for this year, was to kind of get an idea of how are we meeting these goals and come up with ways to assess those goals that we're doing in that committee too. And so this will allow us to give customized reports to faculty, senate, CGIP, PEU, and colleges and departments to identify strengths and areas that are needed for improvement in our public affairs mission. The process for the Quality Initiative Project, what faculty will do is they'll submit artifacts. We call these artifacts, they're just assignments, projects, any item that you do in class. With the co-curricular, it would be things that you do there too, activities there. And then you can either submit things or you can be a reviewer. So you can have one of two roles in this QIP. Who can participate? All instructors. Anybody that has full course responsibility to a course for the academic side can submit the artifacts for review. Full-time faculty, though, are the ones that can only be reviewers. So if you want to be a reviewer, you can either ask Carrie or you can, on the form there's a request for that. So the first step to getting involved with the QIP is to complete the commitment to participate form. This is being reworked, and there will be a new form. The one online will be changed to make it a little quicker and simpler. But the content will be pretty much the same. It's going to have the QIP rubrics to identify goals that you think are in your artifact that you're targeting. It also will have, the form will help us, the assessment office, prepare for your submission to know when about you're going to submit it so that they can be there to collect this stuff. The second step, so one is to just have an intent to do it and fill out that form. The second step is actually submitting your artifact or your assignments or anything that you want to have reviewed to meet to see if it is fulfilling our public affairs mission. What will happen is the assessment office will collect all the artifacts from your assignment or project, and then if it's a large class, they'll only select a portion of them. But if it's 50 or so, they're talking about collecting them all, and then they're going to submit a cover sheet with that artifact to designate the college, department, course level, whether it's Gen Ed or PEU, and the QIP goals that are targeted for that artifact. And this will all be used to generate the end result data to know if those artifacts are meeting the public affairs goal, the learning outcomes that I'm going to show you in the rubrics. The assessment office will also strip all artifacts of personally identifying information, so course instructors and students will be all stripped from there, so that there won't be any identifying information, and only a tracking number for review. So, and the last step, for the submitter, they're done after this step, after step 2. So it's a really easy process to be involved in the QIP. The third step is just artifact reviewing, and so you could elect to be an artifact reviewer. The first review will be this summer, and what we've kind of outlined in our task force during the summer is that 2 full-time faculty members will assess each artifact, and according to the QIP rubrics, which I'll go over in a few minutes. And then if there's a discrepancy, then the third reviewer will be added in onto there for the data. 2 weeks, a 2-week review process window is what we're aiming for. And then the assessment council and the assessment office will compile the QIP data and provide a report in the fall. And that then report will be given annually to Faculty Senate, CGIP, PEU, and the colleges. And if deans or department heads want it at the department level, that data will only be supplied if multiple courses and upon request. So, the rest of this is just I want to go through some of the sites so you can see how easy it is to find all the information you want to know. And if you have any other questions that don't get answered here, we have a good site with frequently asked questions that you can find some of the information at too. So going to click on So I'm going to take you through how to get to it without those hot links, because that's how you're most likely going to get there. Yeah, let's close that. So from the Missouri State homepage, just go to the H to go to the Higher Learning Commission page. And once there, just click on Higher Learning Commission, and you'll come to this page. And here you'll see off on your left the Quality Initiative Project, both the academic and the co-curricular. So you can get involved in either aspect of the Quality Initiative Project. So I'm just going to click on the academic one first. And here you see what the task force did this summer as we came up with kind of a guidelines and what is this Quality Initiative Project, like Cindy was talking about earlier, even mentions who actually did this work for the summer. And each of these hot links, if you click on any of them, they'll take you to, if you don't know what an artifact is, you click on that, and it will take you to the frequently asked questions about what an artifact is. And so what's nice is all throughout the document, if there's something you come along that you don't understand, you can just click on it and it'll take you to this page so that you can look at the frequently asked questions and understand that better. And the process that I just went through is all outlined again right here. I'm not going to go over it, but it just has the submission, the review, and then the data compilation and reporting. The first step in deciding if you want to submit something for the QIP would be to click on the rubrics, and so that's said in this part down here. But the first thing you do is click on those rubrics, and those are a set of our 3 pillars, and then some of the I'll click on it here to open it up for you. But for each of the areas of our public affairs mission, we looked at general education goals. We used our new goals that we voted on in Faculty Senate for the revised general education. We also used PEU goals for public affairs. And if it doesn't come up, I saved it also on the computer just in case. We won't wait for that. So, and we have these rubrics for both co-curricular and academic, and I'm just going to pull up one of these. And you can see that what you would do first is you'd look at, and that needs to be larger, you need to look at the different QIP goals, and we're hoping to get, and this is just for community engagement, hoping to get data on how well we do these. We know we do them, but we don't have any data on them. Especially ones that are in the Gen Ed. We know that we've selected these as Gen Ed goals because we know that our courses do them most likely. But this will allow us to get data. And so what you would do is you kind of look at these these goals, and you might find a different knowledge category that you feel that artifact. And you could have multiple, one or more different knowledge categories that you think, and you'll submit it, and then the reviewers will take that artifact and score it according to this rubric. And what we're looking at, there's not a good or a bad score. There is just the state of awareness. Are they developing in that area? Are they establishing, doing more, a little bit more critical thinking? Or are they really working at the highest level of learning and synthesizing that material for that goal? And so we've kind of laid out some key indicators for each of those. And as you can see, there's a lot of different, what we did, how we designed these is we took our mission statements from each of these, and I don't know how to get that a little lower. No. Our mission statement for each of these, and then we broke them down into these different areas so that we could see. And you can see that here there's a number of the Gen Ed goals, and see if you notice that some of the Gen Ed goals are only just in the developing because that's probably where they're going to be in a Gen Ed class. This one was a little bit more lofty goal, and it's up there at the integration in more of the advanced. But you can see that if you're doing a general education course and you're already potentially assessing it for that, you might want to submit a course to the QIP that will be doing the same thing, and that way we can get data on how students are in these different areas. And here the same with the PEU, different goals in the PEU that have been incorporated in here too. And like I said, diversity has been also added into these QIP's goals. Is there questions now for us? We still have about 10 minutes, so that either any one of us can answer about the QIP, how to do it, what does it really involve?
One of the things that we really would like to help with from you folks, since you're probably more aware of the QIP and working with other faculty, would be to really emphasize this idea that we want something that you're already currently doing or have identified as part of the public affairs piece in your particular class, or some assignment that you could adjust, and then to submit it and focus in on, this is really a development stage. We're really just introducing these skills to students. That's a very great, that's an important goal for some courses, especially incoming freshmen, or if it's new to, it's a place in your program or your first class with your majors. Maybe you're starting with a particular piece of how does this actually contribute to this particular major? How does this goal or this piece of public affairs work with our majors or our content area? So it may be at the developing stage. We'd like to see courses, some courses that are at a developing stage. Some are in the middle, we're refining those thinking and those skills. And then some here are actually going into application. So like Josh mentioned, we have the last two I believe it is, in each one of the areas that are connected to professional education. And that's because we really tie into public affairs, of course, with our public schools and preparing teachers for public schools. So we actually are going to concentrate on making sure that our students are in all three areas. The beginning of their program, they're doing these kinds of things and that we can collect data. So please get the message out that it's not that we're evaluating a project on a good to bad scale or some sort of a ABCD level. This is to give us a pulse or a snapshot of at any given semester where we're doing public affairs or where our students are making these, reaching these public affairs goals. So after the end of this summer, and hopefully we have a lot of participation in this, if we end up with a lot of classes maybe at this end, what we want to do on the committee is say, let's encourage some upper division courses or maybe some graduate courses to have them participate in the QIP so we can see where we are at this place. So really this is going to give us a great way for the university to look at where we're concentrating our efforts. Are we doing enough at this place? Do we need to maybe give more experiences here? Do we have some opportunities that we could take better advantage of in this area? So it's a way for us to inform ourselves and inform the public about how we're transitioning students' experiences and knowledge and understanding with these goals that we've set, the student learner outcomes across the continuum of their whole program. So you heard me mention in there, Gen Ed and graduate classes. Yes, there's a place in this for beginning courses all the way through graduate programs. Even though we tend to, being director of a graduate program, I tend not to think about the public affairs piece as much in my graduate classes. Wrong. I should be embracing public affairs in my graduate classes as earnestly as I'm doing in undergraduate classes, because that's the mission of this university, the statewide mission. So including it in my graduate classes and giving them opportunities will only enhance my teaching and their learning. So please get that message out and come join us in doing what we can to work towards public affairs QIP project.
And what I also wanted to mention is that, and it's in your handout, that the assessment director and the assessment office are continually looking at this stuff, and this is a working document. We'll continue to go through the process, evaluate it, revamp it. And so, like I said, the form, right now, if you click on the online form, it's a PDF that's changing in the next week or two. And there'll be, and like you saw, there's going to be an email out there to ask for participation just coming soon. So this is a good place to hear all this, and then when that comes out, respond and get involved. So, okay, anything else? Does anybody have ideas of projects that they're thinking of? And also, feel free to talk to Kelly or Carrie about, if you have ideas, bounce them off the assessment office. Ask them. It can't hurt to ask, does this sound like an okay thing to do? And most likely, if it has something to do with public affairs, it will be a great thing to do. So, yes, Jan.
I have a question about service learning courses. The Seminole Fires have that designation, which seems to mirror what this is. So,
yeah, I mean, some of the service learning goals, which we didn't incorporate, are within these missions, too. And so you can easily find them within some of these different QIP goals.
You might mention the incentives.
Oh, yeah, we do. There is, for being a submitter, there will be a Starbucks card given to those people that submit artifacts. So take advantage of that, too. And the summer, for the review process, there you will have a stipend or a small payment for that, too, for that process. So.